Good evening, Kathy Mortensen with Equality Matters, talking about the matters of equality. And I left last time with things fairly open-ended, make sure I said that right, between those who believe in vaccination, those who do not, in regards to deliver us from evil, lead us not into temptation. And this is a language of influence, what influences us. And many things influence us, traditions, beliefs, family, DNA, what's in our environment. There are many influences that we have. And I'm going to connect a little bit tonight to a parable about the unmerciful servant. And this parable was told by Jesus in response to Peter, one of his disciples, had a question about how many times someone should forgive. And so he shared, a king decides to settle accounts with his servants. One servant owes him an unpayable debt, 10,000 talents. Unable to pay, the servant begs for mercy. Moved with compassion, the king forgives the entire debt. Soon after, the same servant finds a fellow servant who owes him a much smaller amount, 100 denarii. He violently demands repayment, and when the fellow servant begs for mercy, he refuses and has him thrown in prison. Other servants witness this injustice and report it to the king. The king is outraged and confronts the unmerciful servant, calling him wicked for failing to show the same mercy he was given. In anger, the king delivers him to be punished until his original debt is paid. Jesus concluded this parable with a warning. So will my heavenly Father do to you if you do not forgive your brother or sister from your heart. The unmerciful servant was forgiven greatly. He failed to extend that same compassion. Tempted to act from fear, control, or hierarchy, that's what he did. I can't speak for the unmerciful servant, but he was tempted, act from either fear or a need to control the situation, or from a hierarchical place where it's like, I can do this to you. You are my servant. Therefore, you will pay the price. Even though he experienced great grace from the king and his debt was forgiven, he could not give that to the servant under him. He was influenced not by the gift he received, but by a hardened heart. And some people look at this parable as a warning about how refusing to transform within perpetuates harm outwardly. This parable reveals that that temptation is not just behavioral. It's not just our behavior. We can get hardened. We harden our being and how we're being in the world. And to remind us that evil is not just external. It is also a failure to transform how we see and treat others. So we can be tempted to continue with a hardened heart rather than gaining insight or learning about shared responsibility. So when I talked about, for example, the child care provider who her temptation could be, if you're a child care provider who's saying, nope, you have to be vaccinated to be within my center. And that is what keeps my population alive and how I earn my income by keeping all the rest of the children in my site safe. She could be tempted. Temptation for her might be compromising safety to avoid conflict, choosing the convenience of saying yes or being popular over her own integrity. Or she could be tempted by fear or by feeling judged and thus not holding firm to her boundaries. Like the forgiven servant, if you are in this kind of situation, you are receiving trust. It's like a form of grace. You're trusting yourself. Then temptation is to fail to live out what you trust wisely. And when you do this, it may allow harm. It becomes uncomfortable when you don't follow your boundaries. Working out conflicts with others can be uncomfortable, but you are not living true to yourself. When she's able to take a stand and live her boundaries as a child care provider, it could also be a he. I don't mean to just use the word she. It shapes the tone of the community. It's showing the community, these are my standards, these are my values, and it reduces her risk of being misunderstood. Her influence becomes one of she's modeling responsibility, she's modeling care, or if it's a he, thoughtful boundaries, he or she, grounded in love for all children. For the vaccine hesitant parent, temptation might look like giving in to pressure out of fear, abandoning their own personal values for the sake of being accepted, or silencing what's true for them because they feel shamed by the beliefs of other people outside of them. So the parent who doesn't want to do vaccinations is also navigating grace, trying to receive insight through their beliefs and trying to live in alignment with it. When you suppress your inner compass and what guides you, you are not remaining rooted in your own care and your own curiosity. And when someone tries to coerce you, you might define that as evil. So, what's influencing you and how you're staying true to your being is you're learning to discern what's right for you, making room for your deeper truth. Things just to think about and sort through, especially as we meditate. So both when I talked about these two different scenarios, both the child care provider and the parents, they both stand in vulnerable, high-stake positions where what they believe and how they act influences more than just themselves. And this parable has lessons for us all, no matter what side you're on. Grace or insight is not meant to be hoarded. It's meant to transform us from the inside out. The temptation is always to choose fear over mercy. rigidity over relationship, control over what's important to you, what's at your core. The evil isn't always the other side. It's what happens when we refuse to evolve in response to grace, love, or truth. When we can look inside at what's influencing us. To pray, lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil, is to ask, help me resist the pull toward fear-based reactivity. Deliver me from the evil of acting without love, even when I think I am right. Transform my being so that my influence heals and does not harm. Whether we are embracing a standard or resisting one, the being we bring into the room becomes our influence. Now, I'm a person of faith. I believe that creation is ongoing, that the same divine wisdom that breathes life into nature also inspires human insight. And this sacred unfolding also occurs in science. Science helps us to understand, protect, and prolong life. So vaccinations for me are not separate from that sacred trust. And I know for others they are. And why is that? Even in America, I mean, it wasn't just Germany, it hasn't been just one country. We have used science to harm people that we consider to be evil. We've experimented on women. We've experimented on what we call the Black or Negro population. The Nazis experimented on Jewish people, horrendous acts in the name of science. And that sacred trust has been broken between how science has been used, and that stemmed from our belief systems and how we have been influenced. So I get that. And again, I don't see science and spirit as opposites. And I do believe people can listen to their bodies. I know plenty of people who haven't been vaccinated. And my point of this discussion is not about vaccination. The point of this discussion is about how when we face what we oppose, how are we influencing? What is influencing us? That's the point. We are to show acts of compassion born from whatever's created, a response to suffering. And measles, different diseases created suffering. The lifespan, many children died at young ages before I was born. Once we got these vaccines, young children were able to live, and we don't have this death rate of birth to 5-year-olds like we used to have. It's been greatly reduced. And so one way to look at vaccines is it has alleviated the pain and diseases we once had no defense against. I understand the other side. I'm telling you my belief. Lead us not in temptation is allowing us to trust ourselves and our beliefs Compassion is not only a feeling, it's a moral and spiritual capacity to act in ways that lessen harm. And that's the outcome. So I don't want to harm anyone who doesn't believe like I do. When I say this line of the prayer, I'm asking that we all meet each other from where we're at with true honesty. I ask when I say, lead me not in temptation to be guided away, to ignore my gift, or to soften my responsibility in the face of conflict. When those conflicts arise, I need to be strong in my being, but soft in how I react with others, that I don't react from fear. When we say about delivering us from evil, I want to plant this idea of what is evil. Evil at its core can be seen as any act that dehumanizes others, violates dignity, inflicts unnecessary harm, severs relational connection. Evil is any act that is justified by fear, dominance, or self-preservation over shared responsibility. So discerning what is evil, we ask of ourselves, does this action that I'm about to do honor the inherent worth of another being? Does this action protect the vulnerable or exploit them? Does this action reflect love, truth, and justice? Or am I motivated by fear, greed, or power? We can put any example in the oppositions and the influences that we have when we're talking about lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. There's a depth to this that becomes very complex. And that's why I admire Mother Teresa, her response when asked difficult questions such as about abortion or murders. She would say, let us pray. To come from a compassionate heart for the answers to our dilemmas today. So my gift for you this evening is to go back to compassion. When you're facing, when your truths and other people's truths don't coincide, that you can use this line of the prayer to support yourself in being strong in your boundaries, being true to yourself, being hardened about who you are, but yet extending a soft heart. That is something I've had to work on very much. So my gift to you today is to say, thank you for being you. Be strong in who you are and your beliefs. If you're struggling with a belief, reach out. You can message me, contact me. I'm happy to share any ideas with you. Contemplate how to respond with a soft heart and still be strong to you. The answers do come. And I have much more to share about lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. It's like easy and hard all at the same time, but isn't that life? We have certainty, When you're certain about who you are in an uncertain world, we learn to navigate the uncertainties, and it teaches us more about who we really are. Namaste. Thank you for listening.